Welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk. In this episode, we hear from two new cricket umpires who recently completed their training course. We'll also be taking a look back at the amass over 50 T20 competition that ended a weekend or two ago, and at the opening rounds of the Domestic Club Championship, which got started this past weekend. The big news, of course, over the last week or so, the retirement of Keiron Pollard. And cricket enthusiast Robin Forde, who is also an experienced umpire, he responds to that news. In the studio, we will have Reid and Hartley Reid looking at the way forward in the post-Keiron Pollard era. For the first time, let us welcome to Anything Cricket, Let's Talk, Valencia Crichlow. And also with that welcome will also come congratulations to you, Valencia.
Thank you, Philip.
And just in case our viewers are not aware why I'm congratulating you, you not only recently successfully completed the local umpiring course, but you ended top of the class. Is that true?
Yes, I did, along with two other guys, two gentlemen.
So you tied at the top?
Yes.
Tied at the top. Okay. Well, that's certainly an outstanding achievement. It means that you must have taken your training rather seriously.
I did.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about your cricket background and what got you involved in cricket. I don't think it's fair to say it's relevant anymore to say a man's word when it comes to cricket officiating, because at the highest level, we've had females officiating in cricket, but it's always good to see, to welcome more female help.
Correct. So I've never played cricket. I really can't play sport. But I've been around cricket from the time I was small, going to this game, that game. But no, my son actually plays cricket. Okay. So I am out there even more at almost every game that he's at. So that is basically my affiliation with the sport.
Okay. So
I have a love for it. Pardon?
Who does he play for?
He's currently playing for Windward, and he also plays for the Christchurch Foundation Secondary School side as well.
Okay, and he is?
His name is Akobi Crichlow by him. Okay,
so we're going to look out for him because we're going to follow, just as we plan to follow your path, we're going to follow his as well. I'm sure he'll do it.
Yes, he's actually at trials now currently for the Barbados under 15 cricket team.
Okay, that's great. Congratulations to him as well. So let's hope that he makes the best use of that opportunity. So tell us, you decided then from your involvement in cricket through your son and through your past experiences watching cricket that you would get more involved. So how has it been? How did you find the course?
It was very, very informative. The guys that put it on, they're very knowledgeable. Well, most of them have been around the game. So big kudos to Patrick, Gregory, and the whole team. They're doing a really good job. I really learned a lot from doing this course, and it has me looking at the game from a different perspective. I mean, I was just going out there looking for the 4s, 6s, different, when wickets are done, etc. But now I'm looking at the game more intensely. I'm looking for all these different things I would have learned. So it has been really educational and beneficial.
Okay, that's great. You got to interact. You said Gregory, and I'm assuming you're talking about Gregory Braffett.
Yes.
So you're in the company at the highest level of the discipline then. So how is that interacting with someone who has been there, done that at the highest level?
Yeah, well, the interaction hasn't been a lot. He was just sitting on some of these trainings at the beginning and stuff, but most of the time he was just busy, so he would just have to leave or what's up. But
okay,
most of the interaction would have been like with the guys like Patrick and
this is Patrick. Is that you're talking about?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
He was one of the, well, I say was, he probably
Yeah, he
still,
was this.
I'm not sure his status right now, if he, how active he is, but certainly on the top of his game, he was one of the better ones around.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Based on the training, you can tell.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yes. So this is something that you did to get to understand the game better, or you plan to be an active umpire?
It was more to get to understand the game better.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm having thoughts about actually doing it. I don't know about this season. I'm not sure about this season yet, but I can probably see myself later on actually out there umpiring.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more just to get knowledge for now.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's a small world. So you're out there umpiring and your son comes out to bat. How are you going to handle that?
Well, I mean, I would have to handle it like it was any other person.
Okay. Just thought I would throw that in there to tease you a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you said that you were thinking about actually going into to taking up umpiring, not just completing the course for the knowledge, so to speak, but actually umpiring. What are some of the challenges you see ahead of you that would probably make you hesitant to take that bold move?
I don't see many challenges. The greatest challenge for me would probably be my nerves.
Okay. Well, I can share with you that everybody has those, so you're not alone there. You may not know it, but it's there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That would probably be the greatest challenge for me, honestly. I don't see any other challenges really.
Okay. So the criticism that umpires get, how much would that affect you? I mean, umpires are never correct as far as the general public is concerned. They make a correct decision, nobody notices. They make a mistake, and then it's the talk of the tongue. How does that affect you even now before you get into it fully?
Well, we are all humans. Mistakes will happen. I mean, sometimes the umpires always make the correct call, but criticism is just that. You have to let it go. You can't dwell on it, and it can't let it get to you. At the end of the day, you're the person out there. Sometimes you're seeing other things that they aren't seeing, and it's all in the moment. So criticism would just be that. It won't really get to me or faze me.
What is the biggest? You said that you get to see the game in a different light. I remember doing the umpires course many years ago, and one or two things really stood out for me. What would you say stood out for you in terms of the biggest surprise or the biggest, looking at it through a different lens? What would you say one of the major things that you were able to see from a different perspective?
Well, we didn't really get a lot of time out on the field, obviously because it's COVID and stuff, and the course was online. But I feel like even some places where you sit at on the ground or stuff, you see things differently than the person that's actually there on the field. They have a better vantage point, in my opinion. So sometimes they would be in a better position, in my opinion, to make calls rather than you, the person sitting on the sideline, and you're not seeing everything. Like for me, sometimes fun like on the ball. I can't always see the lane from where I'm sitting.
Right.
And at the ground, what the case is, but you are right there. You can see. So you'd be better able to make a call like that. So it's just little things like that, in my opinion. That's a different perspective. Gives a different perspective.
So do you watch a lot of let's say international cricket or cricket, let's say that's televised, where you have the review system in place? Do you watch a lot of cricket?
Yeah, I do. I would say do.
So where I'm going with that is I'm wondering your take on the whole review system as it relates from the umpire's perspective. I mean, we've heard many different views from the player's perspective. It's not something that umpires generally talk about a lot, and sometimes with good reason, because if you're interviewing umpires at the highest level, they've got to be very careful what they say if they not to offend the ICC, et cetera, et cetera. But at your level right now, I think you're pretty free to share where that is concerned. How do you see the review system? Friend, foe, or something in between?
I think it's more of a friend. It's more tended towards a friend. I think from that perspective, you can replay. You can replay when there's no televised version of it. You can always replay. You can look back, give another correct decisions more or less. So I think I would call it more friend than a foe.
There's some people who believe that it's a system devised, let's say, to protect the umpire. How do you see it? Protect the umpire in the sense of, you get this thing umpire's call. So you could have a situation where it's a close call, but it was given out, so it stays out. an almost identical situation given not out and it stays not out. And some people use that to argue, it's really there to protect the umpires and not necessarily to improve the percentage of correct decisions. What's your take on it, if you do have one?
I really don't have one, to be honest. I really don't.
But you would feel comfortable if you were to get to that level working with it?
Yeah, I would.
Well, of course, we're thinking ahead of ourselves right now. So if we can put it back to the local level, you said that you're thinking about actually going out there. What would it take for the Umpires Association to, well, I wouldn't say drag you, that would not be nice, but what would they need to do to help you to finally make that decision? I'm going to take it on. I'm going to be among the umpires, let's say, not this season, as you quite rightly said, maybe next season.
I don't think it would be anything that they have to do. I think it's me personally.
Okay.
I just want to be out there right now, just watching my son participate in the matches that he's in.
So your emotional energy needs to go to him right now.
In my opinion.
Okay, fair enough.
In my opinion.
What does he do though? You told us he plays for Foundation, he plays for Windward, but is he an all-rounder batsman bowler?
I would say he's an all-rounder. He's more of a bowler. He's a spinner. He's an off-spinner.
Okay, but
is really his strength.
But he can handle himself with the bat to a fair degree.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So in terms of the local umpiring, having just dabbled in the international scene a bit in our discussion, in terms of the local umpiring, how do you think the whole umpiring environment could be improved, let's say, to the betterment and the raising of the standard of umpiring?
I think it could actually start at the training level, more or less. As I said, we didn't really have a lot of time to go on the field and have physical in class because of COVID and whatnot. So I think that to actually improve what we could do, and there are practice matches that the guys would have coming up to the cricket season and whatnot.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I think as though we could probably liaise with those persons. You could probably get one person in training course out there deal with a more experienced umpire.
Okay.
Actually umpiring that game.
Uh-huh.
And I think we'll take the edge off, make it a little more comfortable so that we actually get into a big game situation or actually match days. You feel a little more comfortable. You know what you're looking for, you know what you're supposed to be doing, that sort of stuff. So I feel as I can start from training level, something like that, to make you a little more comfortable in the setting.
Well, it's good that you're doing the training virtually though, but and your point that is taken. But apart from that, how was the actual virtual environment?
It wasn't too bad. It was actually decent. We still got to see some pictures, they sent some videos and stuff. And I guess for some persons that, may not have been able to get the Kensington or wherever we would normally hold it, it was good for them that you could actually still stay in your home and you could still be part of the course and whatnot.
Okay, so we're looking forward then for you to make that big decision. We're going to give you the season to think about it because the season is just around the corner. But we are certainly looking for you to make that big decision, next season, so to speak, and or the earliest opportunity after the start of this season. So all we can do here at Anything Cricket Let's Talk is to wish you all the best moving forward in your umpiring career, Valencia.
Thank you so much, Philip. I appreciate it.
And thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, there's certain people you really need to play any sort of official cricket game, and they've got to be good. I mean, you can have bad players, good players, as long as the players are around the same level, you can get a competitive, entertaining cricket game. But there are two people out there who got to be on top of the game, otherwise it's going to be chaos. They're called umpires, and one of them is with us now, Brian Mears, a brand new umpire. In fact, he just recently, as far as I'm aware, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he recently did his first game since qualifying as an umpire. Welcome to Anything Cricket Let's Talk. Not for the first time, Brian. Is that correct?
Yeah. I did my first game on Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday, the start of the season.
How was it?
It was cool.
But we know there were no major decisions that went wrong because you're with us and you're in one piece, no injuries or anything. So it means that you must have done a decent job at least.
Well, I I guess that I've done a decent job. Moving from actually playing cricket to becoming an umpire, I now realize all the bad things I used to do to umpires.
Oh dear.
I realize there are a lot of pavilion umpires who can call things that are not actually there. They have to be upfront and saying to see it.
And you decide to choose anything cricket, let's talk, for your confession.
Yeah. I think confession is good for the soul, so we do it here.
But how was the course though? In all seriousness, you recently qualified. I think you would have done some matches, if I'm not mistaken. You would have had some experience before that. But how was the actual course?
The course was a good course. Stretched between about 6 to 8 weeks. Had 2 exams. One of the first from Law 1 to Law 22, and then the next exam was based on Law 22 to 42.
Mm-hmm.
So it was had to really test your mind, because actually some of the laws that are actually in the law book of cricket, some of us don't really pay attention to, and some of us overlook it, and some of us don't even know about it.
Okay.
So really get into do the course, improving in any way you can.
So it's an education, basically, cricket education.
Yeah, it's a cricket education.
I remember years ago, many years ago, as let's say a cricket fan and a commentator in my very early days, I would be a bit taken aback when an umpire would give a batsman out after what seemed like a long time. But then when I did the umpire's course, I recognized then that there was a reason for what may seem like madness, because you're not really supposed to give a batsman out unless it's an appeal, correct?
True.
Right. And it was pointed out
Right.
then by the umpires who did it then, you would have guys, a guy maybe ball takes an edge or apparently takes an edge. The guys are running all over the place and jumping and celebrating, but nobody remembered to appeal. So then when somebody turns and appeals, how's that? The umpire gives the decision. Of course, by then, maybe 10 seconds or so have passed, and there's some over-enthusiastic commentator somewhere who never took the trouble to do the course, who will then lambaste the umpire, saying that he took long to make the decision and maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. Can you identify with that type of situation? I don't mean if you have been guilty of it, but what I'm saying, can you identify with that?
Yeah, I can identify it, right? Even when I was playing cricket, actually Sundays I'll be celebrating, and then when we turn around and say, how's that up? Then the umpire just raised his finger, and then the umpire will say, but you won't have appeal. Yeah, so actually got one on Saturday when I actually did my game. So yeah, so that's actually what it really is.
Yeah, were there, in the same way that was a revelation for me, was there anything, or what was one of the more outstanding things for you that you recognize from doing the course, something that maybe surprised you that you didn't realize as a player? That particular one you recognize because in your days playing, and you still do play, you would have been guilty yourself of not appealing and just celebrating. What, if anything, was a surprise to you from doing the course?
Well, the surprise for me of actually doing the course was the one when you are injured, or when a guy goes off, the time span that he spends off. I think he comes back on, he has to spend that time on the field before he can actually bowl, etc. Because growing up watching cricket, so I never used to see like Rose and Walsh off the field, and then you used to hear that they have to spend a certain amount of time off before they can touch the ball again. It used to seem like eternity, but actually get into really get into the whole details of the law. It actually was a shocker of how certain things can happen, and if there's an interval while that person is off, the rain interval or whatever interval it is also counts as the person time, so that when the interval is over, he can go back on the field and let the umpire know, well, I coming right back on.
Okay,
Yeah,
so if I'm off
was,
for, let's say, an hour, and just as I am about to come back on, the rain comes down and falls for an hour, when play resumes, I can bowl immediately.
Yeah, you could come back on and bowl immediately because your time spent would have been actually in the pavilion as well through the rain interval. Okay.
All right, that's very interesting indeed. So you plan to take this umpiring to, well, as far as it goes, or you're looking to do BCL games for division games? What plan do you have to use these umpiring skills?
Well, I'm looking to spend at least like maybe a year and a half to actually doing the lower division, and then after that, then it will go on to do the regional course, which will be regional umpire, and then give that some time, and then go on to international. I think I was told by another older guy that I think up to age 56 that you can try to get right up there. I think after 56 is I think you're not qualified.
In other words, if you can get him before 56, that's allowed. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, that's allowed. That's allowed.
I think there's hope for you then, because I think you've got a couple of years before you get there, at least a couple of years, 1 or 2 years before you get anywhere close to 56. So you really should, that's something I guess you can work towards. Okay, Brian, well, it was nice talking to you.
One or two? A lot.
Before you go though, I'm gonna get. I know you're not only, yes, you play, you're an umpire, but you are a big cricket fan all around. And any thoughts on the recent retirement of the West Indies captain, Keiron Pollard?
Well, on the thoughts on the Pollard issue is that I think that Pollard main focus was to get the captaincy. And after he got it, it was just, okay, I got it, and that's it. I look at all the reviews and the comments of people, talking about it. And like when a great retire from whatever format of cricket, you may have good things saying, well, job well done, etc., etc. And 95% of the comments that I've seen, people are saying he should have gone every time. He should never be there. So as people say, 1,000 Frenchmen can't be wrong. So,
well, I haven't kept track myself. So if you said 95%, I'm in no position to argue with you, because I haven't made any notes on that. It may seem a bit high, but who knows? You may very well be right. I know for sure there's a guy called Brian Mears, a recently qualified umpire, who will not miss him.
No, I won't miss him. I guess I coming back. I watched cricket from back then. A little bit of Viv and Richard Richardson and those guys. I think that playing cricket, I think you need to give your all into the cricket game. I mean, if you fail with the bat, try and if you get a chance to bowl, put in 100%. If you don't bowl, try to put in 100% in the field. Don't just do it because of nowadays. People may say that they're just doing it for money. They're not doing it for the love of the game. My thing is, whatever you do, you must put 100% in it. And knowing me from everything, once I play cricket, I do anything that I am in charge of. I'm doing. I always give myself 100%. Very true. And give 100%, or I don't do it at all.
Well, fair enough. And I mean, people talk about professionalism and that the guys are professionals and so on, and therefore you can't expect them to be committed to certain things. But I would like to think that a doctor is a professional, and I don't know if any of us would want to go under the knife, let's say, with a doctor who we don't think is committed to the task and loves what he's doing. I think it would be rather uneasy, if we heard that that was the case. So yes, you may be a professional, but I guess there's still certain expectations in terms of commitment, in terms of the love for what you do.
Yeah. It's the truth. Even everyone may have known about the issue when I was your captain, about the something I had to do, even though that you were professional. Okay.
Okay, I think this is about where we will end this interview. But
so I guess,
yeah,
I guess that Wayne, I guess that I guess that Wayne would really love to hear about this. Our good friend Ray Holder.
Yeah, but I mentioned it to him some time ago, and he told me that I mentioned it before. So obviously, it was something that maybe really hurt so deeply that I had to share it. But anyhow, that's a story for another day, and maybe for a different show. Want to apologize to our viewers though. A couple of technical problems in terms of getting a clean feed from Brian, but nevertheless, Brian, despite the technical hiccups, a pleasure talking to you as always, and we wish you all the best in your umpiring career.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks to all the viewers, and keep watching. It's a great show, and keep up the good work, Philip. Thanks a lot.
Don't worry to send the invoice. It's not going to be paid.
Have a good night, sir.
Okay. We'll be back on Anything Cricket. Let's talk. For those of you who follow cricket closely, local cricket, you may be familiar with the name Robin Forde. Well, here he is in the flesh, as they say. Robin Forde, the cricket umpire and the cricket enthusiast. I can't just say cricket umpire because this guy comments on cricket at every level and very insightful comments as well. This is a guy who follows the game, who knows what's going on, and who therefore fashions his comments based on what he actually sees out there in following the game. So welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk, Robin.
Thank you very much, Philip. Pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Well, I know the local season has just started and you had a couple of outings over the last weekend. How did that go?
Well, that went very well. I had two outings, really, one at YMPC and one at UWI, and they were both uneventful.
And I suppose that's how you want it as an umpire.
As an umpire, you don't really want any issue.
Yeah, when you attract attention, it means something is usually very, very wrong.
And things can go wrong. Yes, we all know that. Yes, we can.
Yeah. Well, as I said, you're not only a cricket umpire, you are a great cricket enthusiast. You follow the game very closely, and I know you're never afraid to share your opinion on what's going on. And what's been happening recently in West Indies cricket is that we have had the resignation of the white ball captain, Keiron Pollard, after what some may describe as a controversial stint as captain. What was your reaction when you heard of the resignation?
Well, to be honest with you, I was expecting it because I couldn't see how he could have continued with the results he was getting. And as you correctly said, I have followed his career very closely, and I follow West Indies cricket closely. And there's certain things that I look at, especially on the field, how he handles his troops and how, the decisions he makes and so forth. And I've been watching him over, I would say, since he took back over the captaincy. And what I've seen really led me to believe that his stint as captain was coming to an end. So either someone spoke to him or he decided, look, it's probably best for me to leave. And I think he did the correct thing.
There are not many West Indies captains who've had that privilege of resigning, though. So while you may have recognized that his leadership maybe wasn't taking West Indies cricket where it needed to go, did you really think he would have volunteered to end it, or like many others hoping that maybe he would be fired?
No, me personally, I think he probably saw it coming, or probably someone whispered quietly to him, look, we are not going to continue with you, because looking at the results, especially in Dubai, the T20 World Cup was a disaster. And as captain, you have to take some responsibility. And I felt all along that the team chosen to go to the T20 in Dubai, the World Cup, was very, very big, very, very badly. They had players like the fast bowler guy from Trinidad. Rampal. I could not see how in heaven's name anybody could have sat down and picked him. The guy was totally out of form. He got some wickets down here with our T20, but that's a different level. He just was not fit. So I couldn't see how the guys could have passed him medically fit. Likewise with Gale, I couldn't see how they could have taken him. So as captain, you have to take responsibility. Had he gone with some youngsters and we had the same results, I think people would have been a bit more lenient towards him. And then he came back home and we played against Pakistan, we played against Ireland, and we got beaten by Ireland. I mean, in the ODI, I just couldn't understand. And some of his tactics were questionable on the field. So I felt strongly, look, Pollard had served his time and it's probably the best time to move on and choose another captain who could really gel the team together. Because I think the West Indies on paper, we have some very exciting youngsters who can play the game and play the game very well. And I think these guys need to be given a chance. And with going forward, I think we will see some different results. But the time had come that Pollard had really served West Indies. He did the best he could, and it was better for him to leave right now.
He said he did the best he could, but there are those who believe that he was the architect or one of the architects of a Trinidad bias, let's say, in team selection. Do you buy into that, or do you think that that's utter rubbish?
Well, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't really buy into that, but I would just say he picked the team badly. There was no way I could have taken Rampal to play T20 cricket. I mean, that was really a joke. But he as captain have to take the blame because he's one of the selectors and he shouldn't have really chosen him at all. I thought there were other players. I mean, people all around the world were writing, how could you have taken Jason Holder and put him in the reserves? That was really, that was a joke that was going around in T20 circles. That these sort of selections. So I blame him squarely for that because as captain, he should have said, look, there's no need to take Rampal. He was past his best. These guys can't even get a play now in any T20 cricket around the world, that. So that would have told you something, So I was very upset about the team that was chosen. I said it openly. I told even the directors of CWI that was a really bad decision to take that team. And the results showed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we've changed captains. We've been changing captains for quite a while. And in fact, since the days of maybe we can say Viv Richards, we haven't had a whole lot of success. We had a disciplined unit under Darren Sammy and T20 success with 2 championships and reaching the semifinals and being beaten at the semifinals in the third in a rain-out game. So we had some T20 success under Sammy for sure. And but in terms of the overall cricket, we haven't had a whole lot of success despite the changing of captains. What makes you think this will be any different?
Well, I think to start with, we have a youngster who I would put my faith in is Pooran, Nicholas Pooran. I quite like Nicholas Pooran. And for instance, if you see what Brian Lara now is the consultant of the team that he's playing with, and his cricket has changed tremendously in the IPL. His shot selection and that type of thing. And I think he has watched he's watched what Pollard did, and he has exposure in playing with a lot of teams around the world. I think he would be a good choice. The other thing about T20 cricket, you need young, fit persons. And I'm surprised that people get what you call a medical pass. There's no medical pass that you can get to go and play T20 cricket. It's a quick game, it's a fast game, 85 minutes, and you need to be extremely fit to play that. So it's not a game for older people. And we have a lot of exciting people. Look at Rothman Powell. He is a very dangerous T20 cricketer. You have another guy called Odin Smith. I know he had a little fracas down in Barbados between the same Keiron Pollard and himself. I don't know what happened, but there was rumors flying around. But things like that, we have players. There's no doubt about that. But they just have to be managed and captained well on the day, because as both you and I know, cricket is played on the day. As we saw in the recent women's T20 cricket, no one expected the West Indies to beat England or New Zealand, and we did that, and then we just fell away. But it just so happens that on the day, if you come out and play well, you can beat any team. And I strongly believe that if we pick the right team to go to Australia between October and November this year, we are going to see some results that may shock us. So that's my personal feeling. We have the players, but the selectors just have to pick a team that is capable of delivering.
You said earlier in this last set of comments that Pooran has watched Pollard. I am thinking that you mean he has watched Pollard and therefore he knows what he should not do.
Exactly. I think he knows, because when you look at it, you think the T20 matches that we won against, I think it was Australia, Pooran was the captain. But I think he's a smart guy and he would know what not to do. The problem with Pollard was that he seemed to have he came up with fixated ideas and he wanted to do things his way. Sometimes it worked, but most of the time it just didn't work. Plus, he as a player, I usually look at Stacks Guru. He played 123 matches in ODI for the West Indies and only scored 2,706 runs at an average of 26.01. And in T20s, he played 101 matches and scored 1,569 runs at an average of 25.30. A guy like Pollard with his ability should have given us greater returns. And that was my problem, one of the major problems. You know, he just couldn't give us returns. And the thing about it is, when you reach the international stage, you have coaches and you have data that is taken and analyzed on you. And I believe that all the coaches around the world know exactly how to get Keiron Pollard out. They know that he doesn't like spin, so as soon as he comes out, they bring on the spinners. And in 2-2s, it's the end of it. It's all over. So, you know, he really wasn't giving the West Indies what we expected, both as a captain or as a player.
So you would give the responsibility of both white ball formats to Pooran?
Yes, at this stage, I possibly, at first I was thinking of picking a new a white ball player captain for the ODIs and a white ball captain for T20s. But over the last couple of days, I think I would give both to Pooran at this stage. That would be my selection.
Any other candidates?
Well, the only other candidate I could think of, if the selectors wanted to split it up, I would give Pooran the T20, and I possibly would have given the ODIs back to Shai Hope, because I think he has a lot to offer, and it may very well help with his game.
I'm looking at the career stats of another former captain here, who played 126 one-day internationals and averaged 24 with the bat, and he it was more of a bowling all-rounder that he would probably be considered. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Darren Sammy. And those stats seem very similar to what you shared with Pollard. But there were those who were saying that Sammy wasn't good enough to make the team. So it's really amazing, you know, how people analyze things, I suppose, because, you know, Pollard's performance with the bat is in the same category.
Absolutely. You're right about that. Sammy didn't deliver a lot, but I think he possibly delivered at critical times. But
not only that, he was a better leader, a far better leader,
a far better leader with men. He was able to get the guys to play with him, and he engaged them and got them to deliver. And that, to me, was worth probably better than the stats we, you know, actually show it.
So I think we've got enough evidence now from past leaders. I mean, there are others who were leaders of men as well, but we may have overlooked the significance of that because they were themselves great players. I'm talking about people, the likes of Richards and Lloyd and others before them. They were great players. And any success that they had, we probably attributed it to the fact that they were great players. But in the case of Lloyd and Richards, I think they were also good leaders. I actually think Courtney Walsh was also a pretty good leader of men, even although at the time he came along, the evidence wouldn't necessarily support it to the same extent. But I think he was also a good leader. And I'm suggesting that maybe as we move forward, we need to focus more on this leadership as opposed to simply looking for the best player. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I quite agree with you because the thing about cricket is a team sport. And while you might get an individual who is possibly can bowl well or can bat well or even feel well, it is actually the leader that sort of inspires them and gets them to really perform above their level at times, as also when it gets critical, when the chips are down. For example, if you notice when the chips are down, if you look at the Indian team, even when it's being led by Dhoni would sometimes, do something that out of the ordinary, or even though he's wicket keeping, he's always in the game, he's always connected to his players and so forth. I think great leaders do that. Lloyd did that. Richards was able to do that and lift his team sometimes out of great difficult situations. And also the players want to perform for them. But there's one critical thing that I think that I need to mention is that the ability of players to spend time and ensure that they hone their skills. I was listening recently to the address made by the Honorable Dr. Desmond Haynes, and he mentioned that Craig Brathwaite wants to do well. And he wants to do well because he's invested in a bowling machine and he spent time batting with his bowling machine. And, his ability, he may not look pretty, he may not be fancy to look at, but he delivers and he values his wicket. I think we have to get that across to our young players, that they spend time and hone their skills. They just don't turn up and bowl or turn up and bat, but they spend a lot of time. You're off the field more than you're on. So you should spend, it's a job. You should spend at least 4 hours a day practicing your craft. And this is something that I hope that as Desmond Haynes is now the chief selector, he will get across to the young players. Because I'm of the firm belief that we have some of the best players in the world who are raw, but their skills need to be honed and directed. And once that happens, I think you will see the West Indies rise again. I have great faith that whatever team they select for the T20 World Cup, that the West Indies is going to do well. And I can tell you from what I'm hearing is that there are a lot of other teams who fear the West Indies because they know that on our day, we can win any game. And we show that from time to time. So we just have to be more consistent.
You think that with the T20 around now, the young players are probably learning some bad habits too early? I mean, there was a time when you learned your cricket in the red ball format because red ball existed before the T20. So the initial players going into T20 would have been honed and developed with red ball skills. Now it's the other way around. Players are coming into the game in T20 and then they score 240s or so and somebody's saying, hey, let's put them in the test team. Do you see that as a problem?
Yes, unfortunately, I do see that as a problem because you really need, although it's called T20 cricket, it's not all about flashing the pan, hitting the ball and so forth. It is about technique. And we see it now that as the players get older, some of the players, their technique about swiping and so forth don't really get them too far. So I strongly believe that our young players, we still need to get them to hone their skills and bat correctly with the red ball before moving up. Because a few players make the transition. If you look at David Warner from Australia, he started out with the white ball and he made the transition to the red ball. But again, it has to do with technique. And I think I must agree with you. Unfortunately, the younger guys really want to learn their craft with the red ball and learn the correct technique. Because once you do that, you can easily transition to the white ball and then you can turn it on. I expect one day to see the same Craig Graphic probably playing in the ODIs because he has good technique. And if he, once he got it right and he can turn it on, you never know.
Yeah, well, they try that for, to my mind, too short a time, really. And who knows, maybe we may see that again. But before I let you run off, though, I know you followed the women's game pretty closely as well. You were commenting on another forum, during the recent World Cup. What are your thoughts on the women's game? First of all, at the West Indies level, and then I'm going to ask you for your thoughts as the Barbados team goes off to the Commonwealth Games.
Okay, from the West Indies level, I thought really and truly our women did very, very well at the ODI championships. No one gave them a chance to get in the semis. But they had to show the fighting spirit. The problem is that with all women's sport, there's not a lot of money invested in training them. There's not a lot of money invested in helping them to reach the next level. So we have about 4 or 5 talented players who, once they come off, they can win any game on the day. However, if they fail, there's no back behind them. So I thought that all women did very well in the ODI competition, and they surprised a lot of persons because people did not think they would get into the semifinals. However, I think that some of our Asian players may be coming to the end of their career. And I know in another forum I mentioned that I think Stephanie Taylor looked a little jaded, and I'm not surprised if probably we could be looking for a new captain. But I thought probably she had got struck once, and that may have accounted for her jaded, she's looking jaded and so forth, and lost at times when she had to make certain decisions. But having said that, I thought that we did well. We did very well. In terms of all women going to the Commonwealth, I wish them all the best under Corey Cullimore. I think they may surprise a few people because Barbados does have a great, rich history with women's cricket, and I am expecting them to do very well at the Commonwealth Games, and I wish them all the best.
Robin Forde, I wish you the best as you continue to officiate in the domestic competition that got started just recently. And I understand it's going all the way down to around the middle of December. So lots of work for you to do. By the time you're through, you'll be fit enough to get into the West Indies team as a player, won't you?
Thank you very much, Philip. It's been a pleasure chatting with you tonight.
Likewise. We'll be back on Anything Cricket. Let's talk. Well, it's debatable if we can say the gang is all here, but I do appreciate those who are: Hartley, Reid, and of course Wayne Holder, as usual. And well, gentlemen, not a whole lot happening on the cricket field as far as West Indies is concerned, but they certainly made up for it off the field, led by who else? The captain, or maybe I should say the former captain, one Keiron Pollard, who has called it quits. Some say that he's walked away at a time that is a bit unreasonable given that there's a World Cup coming up in a few months. Some are saying a whole lot of other things. Some saying things that I dare not repeat on this show. What are you saying, Hartley Reid?
Good night, my friends. Good greetings to all colleagues and all viewers and listeners. I am saying that it is a blessing. I never supported his elevation to captaincy because I stated that he was not deserving of it. When he was captain, I was never impressed with him because if there's one thing I learned in my line of discipline is that leaders accept responsibility. You raise your hand as the leader because when you did well, you were given all the praises. When you lost or you made a boo-boo, you accepted the actions of the team and you said that is my responsibility. He never did it. He has never accepted responsibility, and the team never played well under him. So when I heard that, I smiled. I said, well, Cricket West Indies has begun to go in the right direction.
Wayne Holder.
Okay, let's start with some statistics. First of all, let me say hello to the viewers and all those in touch with the program, and of course to you two gentlemen. I just wanted to look at some quick figures. I did a quick check of Keiron Pollard's record, win-loss record, since he took over the captaincy in 2019. And it says that in the T20 format, he would have been captain for some 39 matches. He's won 13, lost 21. There were 5 no results. And in the ODI format, it says 13 wins and 11 losses. So I just wanted to put that on the table to say that the record itself was modest.
Could you repeat that record, Wayne?
Well, and I mean, okay, this was a quick check that I made. So if I made an error in the form of a out by 1 or 2.
I didn't ask you to get defensive, I just asked you to repeat it.
Please accept. 13 wins, 21 losses, 5 no results in 39 matches in T20. 13 wins and 11 losses in 24 matches in the ODI. So the point that I was making is that I find that that is a rather modest record. I would have to say modest, heading back in the direction of poor, not necessarily heading upwards. But as far as the resignation is concerned, to say that I was shocked probably would be an exaggeration, but I'm surprised. And I'm surprised from the point of view that this resignation came in the middle of nothing. I mean, there was nothing going on. There was nothing happening in West Indies cricket. We know that we were preparing. We are in a preparation mode for a trip to the Netherlands sometime late towards the end of May, I believe it is, for some one-day international matches. But at the moment, with all the focus in cricket on the IPL that's happening in India right now, to hear an announcement coming out from West Indies that Keiron Pollard had retired from international cricket, not only resigned as captain, but retired from international cricket. Like I said, it came out of nowhere, out of the blue, and I was somewhat surprised. Surprised also by the fact that when Keiron Pollard ascended to the captaincy, one got the understanding that there was some MOU, some unwritten agreement, I should say, between himself and the management of West Indies cricket, that he was supposed to be captain for the upcoming cycle. And I saw that cycle as being completed with the 2023 ODI World Cup scheduled for India late into 2023. So I thought that was the accepted. Pollard has been given the captaincy. He will be in charge for the cycle that finishes with the ODI World Cup in India in 2023. So for him to just up out of the blue and decide that he has retired, effectively resigning the captaincy, I see this as a slap in the face to Ricky Skerritt and all the other hierarchy of Cricket West Indies who supported the move to bring Keiron Pollard back as captain. I'll stop there for now.
Ben, it's interesting that you read it that way, and that's understandable, being very logical, the way you put it over. But the part there about the slap in the face, you took it maybe a little bit step further than I expected. And it caused me to reflect on something expressed elsewhere. Was he pushed? And therefore, you're suggesting that he may be slapping those who had confidence in him in the face. Others are wondering if they didn't whisper something to him.
Well, what the difference between what transpired before and what is happening now was the change of the selection panel, the change of the chief selector and the other selector that went along with the coach. And if anything, I'm left to speculate that something has transpired that does not give Keiron Pollard the kind of assurances that he seemed to have enjoyed under the previous regime when Roger Harper was the chief selector along with Miles Bascom. And like I said, I can only speculate, but is the only thing that really makes, well, the only other thing that makes it logical is that something.
I'm going to support you 100% on that. It is clear, it is lucidly clear, as they were saying about it.
The late, great Shell Harris.
Yes, that when Pollard recognized, at whatever meeting he might have had, whether it be on Zoom or where, but when Pollard recognized that he had Desmond Haynes and Ramirez Sawan to contend with, he had lost. First of all, he had no, remember, he is not a selector. His input might be solicited, but he doesn't have any vote. But when he had Roger Harper, he had Miles Bascom, and then he had the coach, he was the mighty Pollard, pushing his weight around, literally. He can't push his weight around recognized and accomplished former test cricketers. He never played one day in test match. So he was up against some big ones. And I discovered that he decided, listen, you don't push me. I am going early, because he no longer can get his way, because he had his way and he fell flat on his face. So he now doesn't have any more weight to push around. He has no collateral. So let him go.
There's those who feel that he has left it a bit too close to the World Cup to walk away, and thereby is held the team up to ransom to some extent. Do you all feel that way, or is there any merit in that?
What would have been his contribution to the World Cup, Philip? He is
I'm just throwing that out to you, because for my part, if he had resigned or retired on the morning of the first match in the World Cup, that would be fine with me.
He has been a failure once he wears maroon. What he does in the IPL or all the other franchises, very good for him, very good for his bank account. But when it comes to him representing Cricket West Indies, he is a heartbreaker. He annoys me personally, because everything he does in cricket, not say everything, most of the things he does in West Indies cricket are wrong. So
Philip constantly accuses me of sitting on the fence, but I'm going to jump down off the fence here, because I'm one of the people who supported Keiron Pollard for the captaincy of the West Indies.
And he's only jumping off the fence, Hartley, because he knows that I'm well aware of this.
Well, not only
So you plead guilty to a crime. You plead guilty to a crime when there are 1,000 witnesses.
I'm just using you as the conduit, but it's my integrity that is at stake here that I am really trying to defend.
Okay.
And I mean, it would not be,
it
would be ingenuous of me if I were to get here tonight and condemn Keiron Pollard and say all these negative things about him after having taken a position some time back that agreed that he was probably one of the better candidates to lead the West Indies white ball team at the time when he did access to the leadership. Don't get me wrong.
It probably runs in your family, then.
Well, it is, like I said, is.
Or let me be more specific. And if when next I see her, she doesn't speak to me, I would know that she's offended and figures that I shouldn't call her out in her absence. But I didn't tell her to be absent, that she can't defend herself. But I know Ayana was firmly in support even before Pollard was her choice of captain. I remember in the studio off air, we had these discussions back then and she was fully in support. And I'm not saying that to ridicule her, don't misunderstand me. Basically what I'm saying is that back then when she put that position, I put the opposite position. And I'm not saying that to condemn her thoughts, because I really, none of us know the future. If we could read the future, life would be very simple. It may also be fairly boring. All right.
Gentlemen.
So basically, as supportive as you were, and also by extension, Ayana, I always felt it was the wrong move.
Listen to me. I suppose because of my training, my discipline,
Mm.
I see things different than the ordinary civilian.
Mm.
I saw through Keiron Pollard years and years ago, when other commentators, very popular regional commentators, were saying he was the best thing in the region, and they were criticizing every captain that was out there. And the calling for Pollard, I said, but what are you all seeing? He never showed anything other than he was 6'4" and very, very domineering. But his captaincy was never good. So am I going to do like Wayne and eat humble pie? I don't know. I'm enjoying my custard and pie.
So therefore you're not concerned then about the proximity to the World Cup. All right.
No.
So Pollard is gone. He's removed himself.
Before we go there, I want us to
you want to delay his going? That's what you mean? Before
I wanted to comment further.
But before I go or before Pollard goes? What you mean?
Yeah, before you go ahead.
Oh, okay. But Pollard can go, right?
With the discussion.
Okay.
First of all, yes, I'm very aware of the situation with the stance that Ayana would have taken.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said that was way back in 2019 and probably a little before that.
Just before he was
there was another consideration that came to my thoughts immediately as I heard the news about Pollard's retirement. It had to do with the fact that earlier this year, not too long ago actually, Pollard would have signed a contract, the highest possible fee for the 100 in England. I think it's for the London Spirit or one of those teams. And my thoughts went back to the fact that the West Indies have a number of commitments, starting with that series in the Netherlands throughout the summer, the same time that the 100 is going to be played within the summer. And I wondered to myself if maybe that had something to do with it, the fact that it interrupted his participation in the 100. And of course, that would also mean a reduction in his remuneration. I think it's something like £125,000 that Pollard would have signed for just the one season this year. And that was also another consideration that crossed my thoughts. But as I said, we can only speculate because nothing specific has been said. You gentlemen might have been hearing things that I definitely have not heard. I have not heard a thing. Through the grapevine, listening with my ears to the ground, nothing I have heard. This is all my own thoughts process that leads me to wonder as the reasons for his retirement.
Okay.
But you are quite right. You are quite right. I mean, I am not going to be disingenuous to him. I am not going to impute any improper motives. So what, and like you, we have not heard a word. Indeed, that when I saw the article, when it appeared in the social media, I had to sit up and check to see if it were true. Because, I mean, it literally was out of the blue.
I actually thought it was fake news to be honest.
Yeah, the only thing I put it down to was that Mumbai Indians had lost every game and that he was going to get sent home or something like that, because I couldn't believe it. But it is a blessing in disguise. It is a blessing in disguise.
Okay, so Pollard is gone. Cricket continues. What now?
I guess the next question would be, if not Pollard, who?
Well, that's not an issue. That. Indeed, fortunate enough for all of us in this region, each captain or the captain of each territory, most probably except the windwards and the leewards, played for the West Indies. So we don't have any problem like that. Personally, if Philip were to ask me right now as I'm speaking, who I would put forward as the captain, right now Shea Hope has, and me and you are the stats person. I think Shea Hope has an ODI record. I mean, stats of some 50 or 52 or something like that.
Yeah, he has an average somewhere bordering around 50.
Yes, so he's not a failure in ODI. He is far from a failure. He, as captaincy, is something that he can, as they say, he can do in his sleep. So I don't have any problem there. And the other format, the T20, that we have been grooming In fact, Pollard himself has been grooming Puran because he has sat up so many times in it funny. So like that, he would then just Puran would hold the T20 and share what would be the ODI captain.
Who would you consider any other contenders, any possible
Craig
candidates?
Before we get to contenders, though, gentlemen, you may recall on the last tour to India, there was no longer separation of captains between the two white ball formats. So one has to wonder what would be the thinking of Cricket West Indies at this point in time. In
Yes,
other words,
because
will there be one replacement for Pollard?
Hartley has put his position, which is quite clear. He would go with Puran in the T20 and Hope in the ODIs. The other question would be to speculate what would you think that the Cricket West Indies is likely to do. And from my perspective, I can see Cricket West Indies going with Puran in both formats, actually, as the white ball captain. Yes, Hope does have a case. He had been the
No. Wayne.
You muted yourself.
Remember, Wayne. It's not Cricket West Indies in this one. The nomination comes from the selectors. The Cricket West Indies normally either reject or accept the selectors' view.
Wait for them to sanction it. Yes,
But,
I stand corrected.
But bear in mind, though, that these selectors, the current selectors, would have been in office. I'm not saying it was purely their decision, but they would have been in office when the decision was made to have the one captain for the recent tour with the two formats. So that in itself may suggest how they're thinking.
Well, yes, well, this was, like you said, this was the position of the new selection panel. So yes, I do stand corrected when I say, as against saying Cricket West Indies, when in fact I should be meaning the selectors.
Just to verify what Hartley suggested and you confirmed to some extent, but I'm going to confirm it officially. Hope's one-day international batting average is 50.51. 10 centuries, 20 half centuries. In List A, 117 games, the ODIs will be 89. And in List A, the average being 48.53. Of course, in tests, it's nothing like that. He's averaging 25 in tests and 34 at the first class level. The T20 averages are nothing to shout about, 17 and 19. But you've got to assess a T20 player. You need to look past the average and include. There's actually a formula that includes the average,
average strike rate,
and what's that third component? I don't even know if we will remember.
But don't let's bother about that.
Yeah, we're not bothered about it because for me, it is not even a question of if a guy qualifies by virtue of his individual performance, because for me, the best captain, this is just my opinion. We can debate it, we can lose focus and debate it, or we can accept it purely as my opinion, as foolish as it may be. But I just need to make the point that I want to make. And that is that for me, the best captain, and certainly one of the best, if not the best captain we've had since the days of Lloyd and Richards, would be Darren Sammy. And Darren Sammy would not be numbered among the greats as a player. In fact, though, having said that, don't forget though that his one-day international batting average is roughly the same as Pollard's. So that doesn't suggest that he's a great. It probably suggests that Pollard may be overrated as a batsman, but let me not lose focus.
Please don't.
Let me not lose focus. What I'm basically saying here is that for me, captaincy is not just about being the best player.
You're a people's person. You have a captain has to be.
There are other things, and there are probably a number of factors that we don't even have the time maybe or the need to go through right now. All I'm saying is there are factors outside of that, and being the best player to my mind doesn't even rank that high on the list. Because what happens is that fools us is that there are captains of various teams who are the best players, but those teams can self-manage virtually because of the system that has been in place for a while. That's one factor. The other factor is that some of those captains who are the best players around the world were also prepared for the task of leadership in one way or the other. What we do, we don't really prepare anybody for leadership. So we tend to want to pick the best player or somebody that can make the team. He's not prepared, okay? And then we call him out, and the commentators from whoever is the captain to replace Pollard, I put it to you, Hartley and Wayne, that from the first bad hour that we get, certain commentators are going to be on the captain's case. Facebook going to have all sort of comments about it. Always happens.
But Philip, the thing that we have here, if you are going to talk about the preparation of captain of persons for leadership, because this is what we're talking about, leadership.
Leadership.
But this, we are fortunate. We have Craig Graffett, Jason Holder. They have captain from children, literally from the babies, under 13, under 15, under 19, into the regional competitions. So these are persons who know what leadership is.
I think there's room for classroom and preparation as well. And when I say classroom, don't
I
take
don't
that.
know.
Don't take
this
that.
is where you and I were different.
No, hold on. Don't take that.
You can't.
You're not let me finish, so you can't even. I don't know why you're disagreeing with because I haven't finished.
The classroom. You
Right?
use the word classroom.
I just said, don't take the word literally. Yes, some of it will be actually in a room sitting down. Yes, but when I say classroom, now I'm talking about experiences that are specifically geared towards the preparation of that person. So it means interacting with people who can help prepare you. In other words, I can go out there and I can captain a team from the time I'm 12 years old until I'm 28 and make the same mistakes over and over and over again if there isn't some intervention or something to say, well, Philip, maybe you can do things differently. So when I say classroom, sorry?
If you're playing for the Hackett 11, because if you were playing from
if the option is that at 12 years old I'm making mistakes, and by 15 years old or whatever number, somebody decides to replace me with somebody else, the cycle just continues, and that has been the cycle of West Indies cricket. We can't deny that. Captain after captain after captain, and the same thing happening because we do not prepare.
No, but
Philip, we believe that preparation is giving somebody a job to do. Okay, but if I give you a job to do and I don't help you to work through how to do it, it means that you only can do it based on what you bring to the table, your own insight.
You yourself introduce and name a phenomenon, because that's what Sammy was. Sammy
was fortunate. Sammy was fortunate. There's some people who we use the term born leaders, and you can take it for what it's worth. You can dismiss part of it, all of it, but I think you get where I'm coming from. In other words, there's some people who have, just like how you have batsmen who are, let's say, great, not because somebody coached them, but because it's mostly from within them. Sammy was a natural leader. Okay.
I thank you.
Okay.
Because
but everybody is not blessed with that. Everybody's not blessed with that.
Person.
But everybody's not blessed with that.
I thank you, but we have taken people who have never even led a cow down a gap to pasture. And we have entrusted them.
Then I should be a good captain then.
Oh, there.
When you have the pedigree.
But we're not going back to Ben at this point. Ben told me last weekend that he's fully retired.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that if the West Indies, we are going forward, we do not look too far left field to find someone who people will say, because remember, a leadership has to command. I'm going to use a word here that many people do not understand. The leader has to command the respect. I didn't say demand.
If that respect comes from the most runs, when the runs that you score in the wickets that you take, that's a very short-term fix.
Listen to me now.
Okay.
He commands the respect of the team, the players that he is taking out on the park.
How does he do that?
By the way how he carries himself.
Okay.
The way how he interacts with them.
Okay.
Your captain has to be an approachable person, a person who will see a person down.
Especially in this day and age.
I think. Well, true.
Because there was a time in our culture, if you will, and you know, where you could have a captain who's very aloof and whatever, and because of the type of person you were dealing with when you were in your 20s, Hartley, maybe not you because you've all been outspoken, but you know what I'm talking about. The average teenager coming up in your time, not I said your time and not our time, your time, okay? Pretty much, you know, you say jump and he asks how high. I know this from as an educator. teaching as a 19, 20-year-old and into my 20 and teaching in the two totally different things.
No doubt.
Okay,
No
so
doubt.
it's the same thing now in captaincy, whereby you can have that aloof thing, but that's not gonna work with young people nowadays. You can be captaining yourself. So I do agree with you that there is important to have some sort of communication skills.
I don't know. There's nothing here that I have heard that suggests to me that Nicholas Pooran would not be the next white ball captain of the West Indies team.
And that's not what I'm trying to show, and it's not what I don't think is what Hartley's trying to show. I think we are having a general discussion on leadership.
I know, and that is why I was prepared to sit and listen. I understand your discussion. That's why I was prepared to sit and listen. Yeah, but as I say, but there's nothing that was said that suggests to me that Nicholas Pooran, who from all indications enjoys the respect and the support of the team that West Indies or the teams that West Indies have been putting out. We saw him standing and do a very good job whenever Pollard was unavailable. Most of the times he did a very good job. And
only in T20s. The ODIs. Remember, Hope was always the vice captain in the ODIs.
Yes, but Hope wasn't vice captain on the last one day.
No, but he left the region as vice captain, but somehow while they got overseas, Pooran carried the team out.
Yeah, I did some research on that, and it wasn't conclusive as to what I think at one point the information that reached me was that there was no vice captain named or something like that. When you hear things like that, you know it's some sort of couple somewhere, because if you've had a man who's been vice captain for a year or two, and then all of a sudden you're sending off a team with the same guy in it, and you haven't named the vice captain, to my mind, you've said a lot.
But yes, you send a message to that guy.
Exactly.
No, if we are going to look, then you just identified another point there. If we are going to identify the two, let me say Hope and Pooran, and you have two persons that we are stating that both of them can carry the team. But then you're going to look for the records now. You're going to look for records. What is Hope's success record?
I don't think either one of the two of them has captained enough in recent times at a level that one can look at. I mean, Pooran has not had the opportunity.
Record get recent?
Because people improve and people get worse. What I'm saying is that I would not put Hope as captain purely on the basis of the fact that he made a captain and the 19 teams. That would be part of the preparation, yes. But to me, that does not. I can't use his record then to say. Suppose he captain.
How you gonna put Pooran in? What is his record then?
Well, the reason why Pooran would be foremost in my mind, to be quite honest, is because he has been the vice captain and has filled in. He's been the vice captain. That's one point. In addition to being vice captain, Pollard has ensured. Let me rephrase that. The opportunity came about, all right, for him to actually get the chance to lead, and we saw that he did okay. So therefore, one could argue that in the absence of a very imposing evidence from somebody else or imposing record from somebody else, you can go with him for the T20s, because it's the T20s primarily that we saw him lead and do well. For the ODIs, though, I it's not only that. I really don't think that we should take our young cricketers and destroy them as we have done in the past. No. I really think at this point in time, to give Pooran the captaincy of both the T20 side and the One Day International side would be unfair, to be quite frank. There's a T20 World Cup coming up very soon, and I think Pooran should be able to put 100% of his energy into molding that team to represent us well. And I think somebody else should look after the One Day side. If down the road they're merged again, that's fine. But for now, I would want to see Pooran in the limited time that is left between now and the next T20 World Cup to concentrate on that and that alone.
Well, my position is simple on that one. And I am not easing the young or not old. I have always contended that your test captain should always be your ODI captain. ODI cricket is 50 overs, a minimum of 300 balls. Some test innings don't go through 50 overs. Your ODI captain should be the
That
test
was before we had people like Bonner playing and Brathwaite back in form.
Brathwaite, how Brathwaite can stay at the top of his performance playing only one international type of cricket, it is remarkable, because Brathwaite he only plays test cricket.
Mhm.
And with only 3 tests and something, only 2 test matches. Why then can't you give him the tests and the one day so that he continues to play at the cutting edge? So this is, if we are going to look for someone to ease Pooran and Hope, then Brathwaite as purely because he's the test captain.
Mm.
And he should also be given the opportunity and the honor of being the ODI captain.
So you're going before Hope Bain comes in. So you're going with Pooran. No. I understand that you put cases for a number of situations. So Hartley Reid receives a call from Cricket West Indies tomorrow, or from Dr. Desmond Haynes tomorrow, for recommendations for the captaincy. What are you going to tell Dr. Haynes?
Well, he will have to. I got from the parameters. Is he linking both white balls?
No. Okay. No. No. He's asking you what you should do.
Oh, okay. But I would.
So you have full control to share with him.
No problem.
Yeah. So
I have no problem.
How would you advise him?
Hope as the captain.
Mm-hmm.
Pooran for the T20.
Okay, so Brathwaite will be your alternative captain, if you will. Then.
Yes, if you do not want to give those.
I got you covered. All right, Vin.
No, the stark reality is that the West Indies are going to the Netherlands within another 3-4 weeks, and we are going to have to appoint someone as the ODI captain. That is the stark reality. I wanted to go back though. Jason Holder had been removed as the West Indies captain. Shea Hope had been appointed the West Indies vice captain in ODIs.
Mm-hmm.
In the 2019-2020 season, for the West Indies ODI competition, the Super Cup, I think that's what it's called. But anyhow, the West Indies ODI, the regional ODI competition, we had the West Indies vice captain in a team. And we took it on ourselves to position the discarded West Indies captain as captain of Barbados. I don't think that did Shea Hope any favors whatsoever. The logical thing, if I could be logical, some would suggest that I am never logical, but if I could be logical, I thought that the logical thing to do.
This is the second time you've chosen this show to confess something.
What I mean,
And the same time,
I won't even defend that.
Carry on.
All I'm saying is that the logical decision is that you just had the West Indies appoint a man vice captain. You had the opportunity to help this man to cement his place and to showcase his abilities as a possible West Indies captain, and you chose to go back to
Van Holder, have I not been saying for the past several weeks, as it relates to cricket and different topics in cricket, that in this part of the world, we have a difficulty in recognizing what a person can become. It's the same symptoms. It's the same disease.
Gentlemen,
It's the same disease, man.
You all recognize a bad Barbados setup, bad selectors, and bad BCA board.
We have difficulty in recognizing what a person can become.
No,
you are sugarcoating it. I am saying the problem is that we have selectors that who don't even understand what you just identified, Philip, is way above the selector's head. Way above. They didn't even. I can bet you your life again.
I think it's cultural. I don't think that if you change your Barbados selectors now and get 3 different selectors, that is going to change. It's part of our culture. You may be different. You said yourself that your thinking is different to most people, and on occasion, so is mine. All right. It is cultural. We in this part of the world, this is why we're struggling in cricket.
So are we going to continue then?
In a previous show, I went down the road and I drew some examples, and one of the examples was a guy from New Zealand who started as a spin bowler and ended up as one of the most successful opening batsmen they've ever had. That could happen in the West Indies. Skip, if you start as a spin bowler, that's it for you. You know,
It
you either
happened to
fail or
happened to
succeed.
Jaffrey Sobers. It happened to
But
Jaffrey Sobers.
that was
as
back
well.
then. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, you know, so it's a cultural thing. And while I'm not disputing what you're saying about selectors or about the board. That is your opinion. You've been among them. So, I mean, I would be silly to tell Hartley really talking fortunes when Hartley is sat on the board with some of the people you're talking about. So that is your take on it. And I respect that as your take. All I'm saying is that I think it is also a cultural thing. So we can get 3 different selectors tomorrow and maybe the same thing.
But we are part of that culture, Philip. You
Exactly.
win.
Yeah, but there are
you're part of that
exceptions
same
to every
culture.
rule. There are exceptions to every rule. Yeah. But when I recognize though that I cutting on you just now. So continue.
No, I just wanted to make the point that we had the opportunity to help Shea Hope
Yes, we
to
did.
cement his position. But then we get this situation where Shea Hope is now removed as vice captain of the ODI side, and then we complain.
Mhm.
And hence we complain.
Well, really was complaining. I don't think the people who didn't make him Barbados captain complaining.
So,
Because up to now, they probably haven't even realized that they missed the boat.
so up to now, we don't know what Shea Hope has to offer as a captain.
But gentlemen,
And Hardy, I'm glad Wayne raised that because that is where you would have had now your recent record that you could look at. Because I'm not going to dismiss Hope as a captain because he may have captained an under-19 team 10 years ago and lost every game. I'm not saying that ever happened. I'm being hypothetical here.
yeah.
Neither am I going to put him as West Indies captain.
Barbados won the
Right. Neither am I going to put him as West Indies captain because he may have captained an under-19 team 10 years ago and won every game. That's 10 years ago. All right. We've got Puran who has shown us what he can do weeks ago, months ago. So this is the disadvantage of it.
He hasn't won any. He hasn't won anything. Puran has not won anything as captain, apart from the occasional game.
Did Puran win the series against the one day series?
Differ.
But you have to differ because the facts don't bear that out. Go ahead, Wayne.
No, I would need to search the record, but
I don't know if you need to search. Didn't West Indies beat
No, yeah,
Australia
the Australia series, yeah. West Indies
Puran was the captain.
on the Puran in the and that was in the
We don't need to search any further than that.
But listen, don't let us get our things twisted here. If the Cricket West Indies wake up tomorrow
Mhm.
and decide that they are going to put Puran, I will not boycott cricket. I boycotted Keiron Pollard.
Mhm.
I would never watch him. I will never watch him in person.
Mhm.
But the thing is, I would not make any issue with Puran because Puran tries. And Puran communicates with. And if one thing I say about him,
You've got something to
he
work
has
with.
the
That's what
energy.
you're saying.
He has the energy on the field. So I have no problem with Puran.
Mhm.
I have no problem. I don't want to keep wicket. I would like him to leave those gloves where he keeps him in his gear bag and let Shea Hope keep wicket. And
That's anyone. Yeah. So who's going to keep making the T20?
in T20.
Shea Hope is not a regular member of the T20.
That is only because we got this idea that T20 must be swiping and swiping.
I think Nicholas Puran is the established wicketkeeper in the T20 side. I don't think we.
Yeah, establishment. He ain't good. He ain't a good.
But he's established.
He's a trained wicketkeeper. He and the Silver, all of these that we say are poor.
Well, your friend Pollard may not disagree with you because some years ago, if you want to look at records, I mean, it was a long time ago, but if you want to look at records, I remember seeing Pollard do something that I really was a bit taken aback. Wayne can correct me if my memory, the facts are fuzzy, but I seem to recall Pollard actually removing Puran from behind the stumps in a T20 game at Kensington because he wasn't keeping that well, and right there on the field he had to take those gloves and pads off and somebody else kept the wicket. Do you remember that?
I was at Kensington. I was there too. Wayne was there because he had duties, but I was there when I saw that.
I thought that was disgraceful really because not that he was replaced. I mean, you're a captain, you can replace whoever you want. But I really thought the way it was done reminded me of what I would expect in a primary school contest. And at primary school contest, a primary school contest where there's no pavilion, as often happens in primary school cricket, and where the teacher wasn't there and one of the class 4 boys was in charge. But I wouldn't expect professional.
If we were to try to move the discussion on a bit further,
you can try to move it on. But for those who don't understand what I mean by that, I'm simply saying that he could have left the field, okay, and and it could have been done in a much better way. I can understand that happening if it's a case of injury because there's no embarrassment there. But how does a young cricketer feel? And he not too long come back from that layoff anyhow because of the accident. How does a young cricketer feel in front of the thousands of people at Kensington that evening? And you know, to my mind, that was unnecessary.
The keepers hurt their fingers. Yeah. Listen, the keeper can go off with any myriad of complaints.
Exactly.
And then somebody
there's no need to embarrass.
You are quite right.
Yeah. But anyway, we want to move on, and I'm not opposed to that, man.
No,
carry on.
No. What would you all say of the chances of a Jason Holder returning to the captaincy of the West Indies?
But if I was Godfather and he called me for advice tomorrow, he would say, Skipper, keep as far from that captaincy of any West Indies team as you can.
Right now, Jason Holder is doing exactly
unless he needs your money.
What he's doing, no, they don't need. He always need money, but
well, if he's doing it for the money, but certainly as a career move, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Jason Holder is doing extremely well in all formats right now, and I think he should just continue to enjoy his cricket without being anybody's scapegoat.
Yeah, he has been there and done that. He has nothing to prove as a captain, so I would not. I am his godfather, and I would tell you.
Oh, you're literally his godfather.
No, sir.
Oh,
you were. What? Stay focused, please.
There's a former Barbados manager, Philip. Senior team manager.
Okay, so they're godfathers and they're godfathers, and then they're godfathers wannabes like me. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I would tell him to stay. I let you. I would advise them say it and don't say it. Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. That's like a chocolate ice cream when you're on a diet. Say it and don't say it.
So, Norma, just again, I continue the question. Any other possible candidates?
You said you want to lead the conversation in a different direction. I'm saying to you, lead us on, Wayne, and you're taking us back.
And he came back there.
I don't understand. You're giving us mixed signals, Wayne. I'll tell you what, Wayne. I'll tell you what. When you decide where you want to lead us, if you want to lead us forward, around in a circle, or lead us back, what do you think about that? We're going to take a break on anything cricket. Let's start. Well, we've had time to get our thoughts together. Not that we really needed to, but really, truly, we had time to get a break. And having done so, Wayne, where do we go from here?
Well, as far as the show is concerned, I think we have basically exhausted the discussion on the captaincy of the West Indies team and anything to do with that. And I guess, like you said, we move on. And we move on by going back. Let's go back to the Easter weekend, Philip. You and I had the privilege of being present and actually part of something historical, more or less. I mean, whereby we were part of the team that was streamed the final of the Masters T20 cricket competition, the second competition held right here in Barbados. Majority of the matches played at the Woodburn St. Philip headquarters of the Barbados National Oil Company, and is also relative to the fact that Anthony Morris, who is the chief cook and bottle washer, is also very much involved in the Barbados National Oil Company Sports Club and the whole cricket setup there. And I thought that he and his team did a fantastic job, particularly given the fact that we were coming out of the long layoff, the long lockdown caused by the pandemic. And, you know, it was quite commendable of Anthony and his group that as soon as the permission was given, they were able to jump straight out of the blocks and put on a competition organized to the hilt, you know, and as expertly done as they were able to achieve. So I would first of all want to commend them. Over 50s cricket, Hartley, there's still a place for you. And a number of those guys, a number of the guys of some of your vintage still participating and enjoying the game. As Philip would tell you, I am a record as saying that I do admire those guys to be still out there participating on the field. I mean, you had situations where you had guys playing games back to back. Some guys played a game on Good Friday to be followed by another game on Saturday. And you're talking about men in the 50s, and not even those in the 50s, those in their 60s, heading in my direction. And as I said, I commended those guys. I have nothing but admiration and respect for them. But generally, it was a beautifully organized tournament, lots of entertainment, very, very exciting, and the spectators were very much involved. And one of the things coming out of that, Philip, would have been the news of the formation of a West Indies cricket masters, a masters cricket organization based in the United States at the moment. But at least it is a step. It is the first step in the journey of bringing the West Indian Islands together in a sector of the game that has tremendous potential, not only for cricket purposes, but for tourism purposes also. And it was it was notable that the chairman of that new organization was on hand for the final to see the final first. And I think he was also here for some discussion with the tourism authorities towards a big tournament being planned for Barbados later in the year. So lots of developments coming out of this Masters cricket. This again suggests that here is a niche market that is there ripe to be exploited.
And the thing about it is, for those who want to watch, the game is still on our website, Anything Cricket Let's Talk. That's our YouTube platform. It's not on the Facebook platform, but it's on the YouTube platform, Anything Cricket Let's Talk. And you can go and have a look at it. You can actually subscribe to the channel as well. That's the start of what we hope to be some good stuff, good live stuff coming up over the coming months. So you're welcome to go and have a look. Hartley, really know you want to say something just now. You're going to have every opportunity. But is Anthony Morris a visionary, you would say? Exactly.
And that is exactly what I was going to say. So I'm happy that you're back on that said point. So okay. I didn't lose it. I haven't lost any step at all. Okay. If there is one person in Barbados, outside of Wayne Holder, who has the
I'm blushing, fellas.
Who has the distinction? No, I'm blushing, because I am not too kind with compliments. So when they call,
this is true. This is true.
when they call you. But seriously, Wayne Holder is a pioneer in night cricket in Barbados.
Okay.
Successful night cricket. Thousands upon thousands of people on a kerchief, watching cricket on a kerchief.
So we sit down and go my hair and don't even realize it.
I thank you. And Anthony Morris can organize. He is something. He was a good cricketer. It's very serious cricketer in his day. But his organizational ability is par excellence. He is very good. So I was not surprised when I learned that Anthony Morris had something to do with this competition, and that the standard that it was in, to know and to add icing to the cake, to get streaming coverage from Anything Talk, Cricket Let's Talk.
But Hartley, I always talk about seeing what people can become. I actually saw what Anthony Morris could become, but I didn't know what I was saying. I may have shared this already, so forgive me if I did, but I was at Empire Club when I'm almost sure it was his first game at the then Division 1 for the BT. Maybe they were promoted. It may have been, but it was certainly the first time I was seeing it. That was not in doubt. Yeah. And I don't remember the numbers, but he scored a few runs and he bowled. And I remember in giving my summary, in those days, summaries were not long-winded. I think we had like 60 seconds and 30 seconds and not 30 seconds, 60 seconds and 2 minutes and that type of thing. And I remember in that time, saying, as excited as I was, Anthony Morris, jot that name down. Clearly, I said that inspired by what I'd seen on the field during the course of the day, not knowing this guy would become an cricket administrator at the highest order.
And I'm happy that you all also made mention of the possibilities that can be derived out of this moment when it comes to going overseas. because for some reason in our region, and Barbados in particular, I do not understand how they love me. Why the BCA does not understand and see the potential of Barbadians going and playing cricket in America. So if Anthony Morris, with his 60s, over 50s and 60s, recognize that the potential is there. But once again, I am going to really have to advance his name for some sort of national honor, because
No, don't do that, because the last name you advanced for national honor, the person got left overlooked. We can get to that in a minute, so you don't do that. Let me do it if anything.
If I was saying anything though, Philip, I'll take you back. You remember the original concept of this Masters tournament that Mr. Morris had advanced when he spoke to us on Anything Cricket Let's Talk.
Yep.
He had all plans in place to have an international tournament with teams coming from as far as Europe, inside the Caribbean, and until the unfortunate entrance of the COVID-19 pandemic put everything, sent everything askew. But I guess those plans are still very much on the drawing board. And as things open up, we hope we would expect him to be able to execute.
Well, I think he still got those links, because when we were talking about the stream, in fact, when we started this was even before the final game that we streamed prior to that, and he came to me and asked, he wanted to send the link to his contacts overseas. So he's obviously still kept in contact with these guys, and I think that as long as COVID situation is manageable, that we will see it emerge into an international tournament at some stage.
Well, yes, and we saw a lot of the who is who of Barbados club cricket of, let's say, the 90s, the 80s, 90s, the early part of this century. We would have seen a number of those players who still enjoy the game, who still want to play the game, and they have found themselves an outlet. So I hope that Mr. Morris is given all the support that he can possibly get, and the bigger authorities see the wisdom in going and pushing in that direction also.
They cannot ask for any better incentive, because our Prime Minister in her very recent budget speech says that she identified cricket and road tennis as industries, industries.
Well, so and bear in mind, Hartley, that I only told you don't go ahead and suggest and recommend a young man, not because he was not deserving of it, but I'm a bit concerned about recommendations coming from you, not because you're not credible or because the people are not worthy of it, but it may, sometimes it's who put forward the name that, that matters. And you put forward a name here the other day, mind you though, so did we in Holder, so I don't know how we can deal with this. And that guy has been totally overlooked, so I've been made to understand, as regarding the Commonwealth Games.
Yes, I mean, it is nothing short of hypocrisy, bordering on maliciousness and spite, that you could reach this, that we could hear that Corey Cullimore and Ryan Hines will be taking the Barbados Commonwealth girls to the Commonwealth Games. And for some reason, and Richard Clark is not going, but instead, the BCA has identified Richard Clark to be the coach of the BCA on the 19 girls. They preempted any criticism of the omission of Richard Clark, who has worked tirelessly and literally single-handedly up to Saturday that just gone, at the beginning of the cricket season, when Richard Clark is right now, he's still he's the coach of the BCA women's team playing in the T20 competition.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm sure you got the viewers confused. Well, some viewers, obviously, those who follow cricket or women's cricket, maybe more than you do, if that's possible. But those who don't, I'm sure you got them confused. You said Richard Clark has now been appointed the under-19 women's coach. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's now going forward. So that's a new appointment.
Going forward to play in the regional.
Right. So that's a new appointment. But you're
Yes.
saying that he's the standing coach for the Barbados women then. So, age is not a factor here now. This is
Yes, no,
Barbados
for the
number one team.
Barbados women team.
He is the national
And-
coach. He's the coach of that team. Sorry.
Playing our local competition.
But he's not going with some of these same girls, at least not necessarily the same, because I don't know the team they'll pick. But the point is, he is in other words, let's look at Haley
standing
Matthews.
coach.
Let's look at
He's
Haley
the
Matthews.
standing
I'm trying to
coach.
understand this thing. Look at Haley Matthews. Barbados is one of Barbados' leading players, and DeAndre Dottie. Let's say two leading players. Do they or are they qualified to play in this tournament that this team that you're talking about that Richard Clark coaches?
Yes,
I know they may not because they may be overseas, but
exactly.
can they play?
That is.
But-
in fact, Haley is the captain of that side team.
Okay, I just want to make sure what is that Richard Clark is the captain of. So he's the
Yes.
captain of
He's
the
the coach,
Barbados
the
women.
coach.
Sorry,
He's
he's
the
the coach of the Barbados women. The
Yeah,
Barbados
of the-
women are
the-
going to the Commonwealth Games, and Corey Cullum is going to be the coach. I just want to make sure
Yes.
that I understand that.
Yes, you are quite right.
Okay, all right, good.
What's the name, Hartley? Let's get specific. What is the name of the team that represents the women in the local Division 2 competition, second division competition?
Oh, the Iris Walker. That's the Iris Walker. 11.
Pioneers or is working.
Iris Walker Pioneers.
So Richard Clark is the coach of the Iris Walker
Pioneer.
Pioneer.
Made up of the same people eligible to play for the Barbados team.
Well, well, Hartley could correct me again.
Yeah.
The girls played a game on Saturday, I think it was. And
Yes,
they got beaten by
against the Barbados Defense Force.
Aliyah Allen and Kaisia Knight had
Open the
partnership
batting.
and put on over 100.
114
This
to
is
be
the
exact.
same Aliyah Allen and Kaisia Knight that just came back from the Women's
West
World
Indies.
Cup with the
Yes.
West Indies team. This is the same
Yes.
people. Right.
Same.
So I think that should have to put something.
And Richard
that should have
Clark,
to
and
put
Richard
something
Clark is coaching these people
as the coach of that team.
of that team.
Yes, he is.
No, but they know. So Corey Cullimore has been named as coach of the Barbados national team.
What's in
that
the
is
name? They
Going
say. Now we
to
see.
going to the Commonwealth Games.
Going to the Commonwealth Games. And Aliyah Allen and Kaisia Knight and the likes will also be in that team.
Are like to be that team. I would
Most
think.
probably they will be there.
Right. So I just wanted to help. out.
Unless they spring a surprise in team selection as well.
But I just wanted to help out there, though. And
But
of
not
course-
only me. But
Well, like I said,
remember,
those people
we
who would have
we
been
have
stuck.
thousands of viewers around the region and further afield, and they all don't get the chance to follow women's cricket. So that was not as much from me. That was
And
me
this is-
helping
no,
or
but
at least
no.
clarify it for our viewers.
But
Well, I mean,
if I may, before you go any further, don't let's leave it here. I have been begging all those who wanted to hear at West Indies level to put Aliyah A. Allen, because we have two Aliyah Allen, and Aliyah A. Allen and Aliyah D. Allen.
Okay.
But and Aliyah Allen to open the West for Cricket West Indies with either Haley Matthews or with the same Kaisia Knight, because Kaisia is the assistant opening batter.
Okay.
And I was saying that we are doing an injustice to our cricket, but because Aliyah Allen bats either open or bats no lower than 4 in that same Iris Walker Pioneers. But for some reason, when she goes to West Indies, she bats number 8. And I kept saying that you cannot have Rashida Williams, who cannot bat, opening the batting for West Indies, but you have persons that who can bat. So Richard Clark on Saturday told Aliyah Allen, you will be opening the innings. And she said, all right, coach. And against all men, 140. And she only got out in the penultimate ball at the innings, 140 going for a second run. When she got run out, when Aliyah Allen got run out, Kelsey came in not out at 52. It's not to say that we do not have the women in this region. I kept saying it for all who wanted to listen. It isn't to say that we do not have the competent players in this region to represent Cricket West Indies. We are not selecting them for many reasons that if one were to ask me, I would tell them.
All right, Hartley, it's an interesting situation about to occur though, because when the Barbados team goes off to the Commonwealth Games, the local competition will still be in swing, whether it be the T20 that we're into right now. After that comes the 40 over for the second division teams, and then the league proper, the 2-day league. Will there be a continued presence of the Iris Walker Pioneers in the local competition, even with the Barbados team
yes,
in England?
Oh yes, sir, because we can only take 15. And we have, not only do we have in that Iris Walker squad, we have also the under 19. We have some, I was pleasantly surprised at our under 19 cohort. We have those girls can actually represent. Now, as you know, they were never placed in second division to go and beat everybody. They were placed there for the exposure.
It's developmental.
I love that word. I love that word. The development of those girls. That is why they were placed there in the first place, because they were playing among themselves. And when I was the chairman of the women's cricket, I said, this is incestuous. It's a waste of time. And they played, and the very first competition on the Shaquana Quinton captaining, we won the regional competition, beating Jamaica twice, and the first game in the preliminaries, and then in the finals. So it has, not only has it always been good. We have scores: Shaquana Quinton 152 not out, Haley Matthews 98. We have the same Kaisina and Kaishan well in excess of 60 and 70 runs. DeAndre Dutton does not play very much for whatever reason it is. She doesn't play very much. But those girls, we have. So to answer your question in a nutshell, yes, we have a number of under 19 girls who are still under Richard Clark's tutorship. So he will produce a team to continue when those senior girls have gone on to do justice and represent Barbados in England.
And what about the under 19 team, as you mentioned, that is now, again, I understand that there is an under 19 team in preparation, I believe, for a regional tournament coming up?
No, but yes, in July, there is the regional under 19. Just before the team goes off to England to play in the Commonwealth Games, there's an under 19 tournament. And this is in preparation for the World Cup, the World under 19 that will be held in the Caribbean next year. So once again, we have to keep our eyes on what is happening, because you see, Trinidad has jumped us. Trinidad and Tobago and the Windward Islands have jumped the region by holding a competition between themselves. And I am watching that very closely, very, very closely, because you have the vice president of Cricket West Indies is from St. Vincent, and then you have the chief selector is from Trinidad and Tobago, and they are for some reason, they can come together and hold a competition between those two countries, excluding the other four regions, the other four territories.
They probably have an Anthony Morris mentality. That is, they want to play cricket and find reasons to play rather than not to play.
I thank you for your suggestion, sir.
How advanced though are the preparations for this under 19 team?
We have been, once the COVID-19 gave the BCA the opportunity to assemble, those girls were coming together. Now, for some reason, we were hearing that many persons were not practicing. And people kept saying that, but I kept saying that is not true, because Richard Clark was able to get those girls together. And we have a good set of girls. In fact, I counted 17 or 18 girls Saturday at Rubis. So you can rest assured that we are still, and some of the girls were not at the ground for whatever reason or the other. So we still have, and I'm hoping that Stephen Leslie, who is the manager of public relations and human resources, whatever his title is. I'm hoping that the BCS does something. Listen, I'm hoping that the BCS does something to promote women cricket. Because as it stands now, I am hearing the last time on another program, I hear this the CEO. I don't know how CEO getting when you have people doing marketing and holding posts. But then there's another kettle of fish. But I just want the BCA to understand that they have a duty. It's an act of parliament, for heaven's sake. It's the only sport in Barbados that is an act of parliament. It has the responsibility for cricket.
Well, Hartley, when you mentioned Stephen Leslie, that's a timely mention, because when I think of Stephen Leslie, at least when you mentioned just now, my mind went to the past weekend where we had the start of the domestic competition, and of course you were aware that Stephen Leslie is to do with marketing and so on, and sort of like the person who interacts with us media people, if you will, for coverage on some level. And it was an interesting weekend. I personally visited. I was actually at YMPC and Wildy and saw two good games there. The first one, Lords upsetting YMPC, and Dwayne Smith didn't really get going, and some may have said, well, you know, Dwayne Smith has got to be a factor in this YMPC side if they're to beat anybody. If that's what they were thinking, Dwayne Smith scored a century the next day, and they still lost to Wonders on that occasion.
I would suggest you, though, Philip, that you use that word upset reservedly, from the point of view
so
that
YMPC were not upset when they lost.
This is no, but if I say a good friend of mine, who I will name, Juan Frank Gill, who went down to Lords on Sunday to cover the game for the CBC coordinated broadcast.
Which was coordinated by Stephen Leslie, hence my earlier comment.
This was this Stephen Leslie. But Frank Gill went down and he reported to me as the person who wrote the report on the YMPC Lords match and suggested that they were upset, that I was taken to task by the fans at Lords in St. Lucie that Lords did not upset YMPC. It was no upset as far as they were concerned. So that's why I told them to use that word reservedly.
No, but it depends on how they interpret upset. I was there when Lords defeated YMPC, and I think I saw some people who were quite upset on and off the field. So Lords did upset YMPC, if not in the sense that term is used sometimes, in a literal sense, you know. And then, of course, I wasn't there to see the.
But it upset. I think what we meant to say was the upset the form book.
The upset YMPC, the player, the people. There were people there. There were people there who were upset.
Don't sprain your brain. Just leave it right there. But all I'm trying to say is that the message that I was trying to portray is that Lords upset the predictions and the form book. You tell me whoever was upset, it doesn't matter to me.
But I was upset when I heard it. I was upset when I heard it.
You see,
there we go. As a YMPC man, you should be upset too, man. Anyhow, so you know, those are two of the matches. The game at Wildy, I can tell you, Carlos Mendes is in some form. I heard about the 64 on the Saturday, and as though he was saying to himself, well, that guy Philip Hackett probably don't believe what he heard, and he gave me an even better demonstration this Sunday.
A century.
No, he didn't get a century. He got 80, Carlos Mendes. He got 80, but it wasn't the score. I mean, if I pick up a paper and see that Carlos Mendes scored 80 or 64, that's not going to shock me. I know he can bat, but the dominant manner in which he played on the Saturday, I think he struck like 4 or 5 sixes, and he struck 3 sixes on the Sunday, and he picked the gaps as though he had put the fielders in a particular position, knowing that he was going to hit the ball somewhere else. He controlled the field. He had total control.
Actually, on listening to the commentary on Saturday, he was the difference between an ordinary average score and what eventually really got to. Remember, I think he came into bat with about 4 overs to go. He scored 120 or something like that.
Yes.
And
He scored 64 off 25 balls.
And was all right. I managed to take control
Oh
of this.
dear, that is taking control.
Yeah, and on the Sunday, his half century came up off 25 balls. And eventually scored 80, I think it was off 39 balls, but I'm speaking purely from memory. But it was a knock to watch. It was a sight to behold. So, you know, well done to
So
Carlos.
you mean we are going to pencil Carlos Maynard's name down for Barbados inclusion in the shorter format?
But you going real far with this thing, you know. I've said to you that Carlos Maynard is in some amazing form, not only in terms of the scores he's put together, but the manner in which he's put them together.
So you mean he mustn't get any reward for those 2 knocks?
Well, with 2 matches gone out of a possible win, 9
4
first round matches.
Well, yeah, there are 10.
Right. So yeah.
10
so
teams in the zone.
Let's hope that this will be the start of a whole new thing for
I can live with that, right?
Yeah.
I can live with that.
Right, fair enough. All right.
But I myself, I know I was going to just report that I myself would have been involved. I was actually royally entertained again at YMPC on Sunday, where we had something of a runs fest. Very good cricketing conditions. You know the little ground at YMPC Hartley, and we had some power players in action. First of all, we saw Dwayne Smith. I mean, he needs no introduction, and he pummeled 124 in a very quick time. And if we thought that was fireworks, a total of 167, a target of 168 was made to look small by Wonders. They actually achieved the target in less than 15 overs for the loss of just the 1 wicket. Rashawn Primus and Jonathan Drakes, taking the YMPC bowling to task. If I may add, YMPC bowling looks a little light though. So it's no, so when I saw what I saw on Sunday, then I could understand
what happened Saturday.
What happened this Saturday, right?
And if you revisit Saturday, I'll tell you something about Lords. I've got a lot of respect for their bowling. They've got what they call a disciplined bowling attack. People like Kimar Stanford, Tremaine Dorrich, to name 2 of them. Yes. So a very disciplined attack, and I can tell you they're not going to have to score a mountain of runs to be competitive. That bowling attack looks to me as though they could defend. And when I say defend, I don't mean they're going to win every time, but they can make a team work hard to score 130. I think I have a lot of respect for the bowling. The batting, I think, needs some work. They're probably a batsman or 2 short of somebody who can really take control. But if they can post scores above 120, 130, 140, they're going to give teams trouble.
Well, yes, so those were the 2 matches that we saw. We also saw Gladiola, the defending champions, after a very rocky start, losing their 2 opening matches.
Rocky? They lost and a rocky. They lost both games and a rock.
So very quickly, Ben, what else? What are the results you can recall? Or what else impacted you, I should say? Because I mean, the results have been published here, there, and everywhere. But what else impacted you from the weekend's cricket?
Well, we saw.
But my takeaway was Carlos Maynard.
Well, yeah, well, I can tell you, I had the privilege to be at Bacchus Road on Sunday.
You know what? There's a guy who I have to hide from next weekend if he plays. He's called Akeem Jordan. I said my takeaway was Carlos Maynard, but really, the difference between Carlos Maynard and Akeem Jordan is probably that Carlos Maynard had 2 good days. I don't recall what Akeem did in my absence on Saturday, but he was spectacular on Sunday because when they batted first and posted their score on the strength primarily of Maynard with support from others, including Akeem Jordan, who scored 27 off, I think, like 13 balls or something. He removed. If you were wondering, anybody who was wondering what police would do, how police would respond, they didn't have to wait long. In a jiffy, he had the first 4 wickets, and that was that. So all that was necessary was for him to come back and in just with 3 balls coming back then for his last over after an open spell of 3 overs for 4 for 11. He came back then and just picked up the last wicket to finish with a 5-wicket haul.
An interesting observation though, Hakeem Jordan and Rashawn Primus. I think 2 of those cricketers in Barbados who I would tend to say understated, more so than underrated, because I know that people appreciate the quality players that there are. But for some reason or another, they have not been able to break the ceiling as far as local, the national selection is concerned. They always find themselves in the way. But these are 2 cricketers whose performances at the domestic level merit a lot more consideration than I think that they have been given.
Wayne, what did I highlight to you earlier in this show and on other occasions is our problem culturally. We fail to see sometimes what people can become. Hakeem Jordan in the Super 50 last year was almost discarded at one point, if you recall, but then ended up playing. I don't remember the numbers right now, but he had a pretty big haul for the Barbados team in that particular match.
I can take it further back.
I was just about to say that. And it's not the first time that he's performed, but sometimes we spend a lot of time looking for what we've already found. So we probably look for somebody bowling at 105 miles an hour and knocking off helmets. And if we don't see that right in front of our face, then we can't seem sometimes to appreciate the subtleties of good bowling.
And in the case of Rashawn Primus, a cricketer who, sometimes it pains me, Hartley. It pains me, my heart burns when I see the likes of Fabian Allen and Sherfield Rutherford and Odin Smith and these guys out there on the international scene performing, and Rashawn Primus here in Barbados and not even an opportunity to represent Barbados. It pains me, Hartley.
When you try to get me repeat myself, but I ain't repeat myself.
Bad management. Yeah, but Philip, you were saying we do not have the proper
I ain't gonna repeat myself anymore.
We do not have the people's person managers. And like that, we would continue to, your heart would burn you.
The only sentence, as far as I'm aware, I'm not a legal person, but as far as I'm aware, you get a life sentence in some cases for murder. For most other things that you may be accused or found guilty of doing, you may serve a period of punishment and then all is well. So
at least
as people say, take sense from nonsense. But while people are doing that, you can be closing the show, man. But you're gonna have that privilege and that honor. I'm assuming it's a privilege and an honor. You will have the opportunity that Rashawn Primus didn't have.
That's to close the show or to play for Barbados.
The opportunity. Opportunity is opportunity. So you have the opportunity.
Nonetheless, anyhow, gentlemen, it has been quite a bit of fun. I must say, hope that the viewers enjoyed what we had to offer as much as I enjoyed participating in this evening's discussion. And I thank all of those who would have taken the time to join us and share the time with us. We look forward to return to Anything Cricket Let's Talk. Of course, special thanks to our now resident guest, if there's such a thing, Hartley, Reid, and on the behalf of Philip Hackett, who is the producer and co-host, Valencia, saying thank you and good night.